Enough, Reggie.
My lords, my ladies, and everyone else here not seated on a cushion. Today we are talking my joust rules for Dungeons and Dragons or any fantasy D20 system. These are mostly made up from the rules that I've heard in the great movie A Knight's Tale, and also from more so like 70% a conversion of the rules from Warhammer's White Dwarfs full tilt rules for Bretonnian jousts. This Aegolian at the front at the joust, that just refers to my kingdom that these rules are used for. Conceivably, though, each of my different kingdoms might use a different rule set for jousts. First off, to participate in a joust, you must have a grant of arms or a patent of nobility and heraldry in order to even sign up for the tournament. Then once you're in the tournament, you're split into two teams. One of the teams is from the Knights of the hosting dukedom, and then the other knight team is comprised of the knights from all over the kingdom, or possibly from anywhere else from the world. And in the tournament, it is illegal to use magic items or be influenced by magic of any kind or ride a beast other than a horse. And if you are caught doing otherwise, you are shamed and possibly counted as cheating. Likely counted as cheating, I would say. Okay. The joust itself is broken into 3 days. The first day is the pageant of honor. This is when the knights parade around and have their bards or major domos or whatever they have all introduce them. And during the pageant of honor, mechanically, this is your opportunity to beg the favor of a lady in attendance. So this is just represented with a charm, persuasion, or whatever kind of charisma check. Could also be influenced by any intrigue you have going on in the background if you already have a relationship to one of the ladies in attendance. Maybe this check is easier or harder depending on what you're trying to do. But basically, the higher you get on your check, the more re-rolls you will get to use during the joust. So yeah, these re-rolls, you can use them for any roll over the course of the tournament. And these are just more specifying how exactly these re-rolls can be used, because it can be a little complicated when you are trying to determine who should use their re-roll first, because there's not necessarily really any initiative for who takes their re-roll first. Okay, but yeah, that's about it for the first day. All right, second day, this is the joust itself. So this is where we get into the weird, finagly little mechanics. This is mostly taken from the full tilt rules itself. So before hosting a joust, or running a joust, I should say, you need to make at least 2 sets of 3 cards. You could just as easily, just take an index card and write on the back of them. You need a ploy for aim for the shield, aim for the helm, and a defensive ploy. And when you get into a joust, you're going to reveal which secretly chosen ploy you have selected, and some ploys will be better against other ploys. An aim for the shield rolls with advantage against an aim for the helm, because the lance is going to connect with someone's shield before their lance connects with your helmet. It's at least a foot or 2 away or something. An aim for the helm rolls normally against both other ploys, and an aim for the shield will roll with disadvantage against a defensive ploy, because they're leaning or using their shield, focusing on using their shield. They're less likely to get knocked down. And if you both choose the same ploy, then you both roll as normal. So for the first pass, this joust is going to be broken up into multiple passes. The first pass, you just make a regular attack check with your lance, and then you're just checking for the difference between the 2 skill checks that both the jousters make. So if you get a difference of 4 to 14 higher than your opponent, then you're going to break your lance on your opponent. And if you hit them in the helmet, then you're going to get 2 points. And if you hit them just in the torso, you're just going to score 1 point. So this is for if you just either perform a aim for the shield or a defensive maneuver. You only ever hit the helmet if you aim for the helm. And if you're result is of a greater difference of 15 plus, then you're going to unhorse your opponent and just straight up automatically win the round. And if you both have a difference of 0 to 3, then you're both going to break your lance. So if you aimed for their helmet, then you'll break your lance on their helmet. And if you didn't, then you'll break your lance on their torso. And for any result lower than an 11, then you will not break your lance. Even if you have a difference of 0 to 3, if yours is 10 or below and theirs is 11 or greater, then they'll break theirs, you won't break yours. Okay, for the second pass, it's exactly the same as the first pass, except you will be using ride or animal handling or whatever your system's equivalent is. This is going to represent your ability to actually control your horse and maintain this jousting, charging pace. And the third pass, same thing as the other two passes, but now you're using willpower or wisdom save or whatever your courage stat is. This is, representing your courage, your ability to maintain composure. And, in the Knight's Tale, this is the looking down the visor instead of tilting your head up. And then you just keep repeating this cycle of 3 passes, going back to the first pass after the third, until at least one jouster has broken 3 of their lances. And then as soon as a jouster breaks 3 of their lances, you tally up the scores and determine who the winner is. If you both have an equal amount of points, then you go to a contest of swords. This is just regular combat. And if you hit your opponent 3 times before they hit you 3 times, then you win. There's also some things that can go horribly wrong during a joust. So if you get a nat 1 and your rival, your opponent jouster gets a nat 20, then there's been a horrible accident and you get knocked off your horse and it instantly reduced to 0 hit points. And if you're using lingering injuries, then this results in an injury. If you are jousting and if you get 2 nat 1s in a row, so if you just do horribly 2 passes in a row, then you accidentally hit your opponent's horse, which is considered super uncool in jousting. You accidentally either maim or kill your opponent's horse and you are immediately ejected from the tournament. You either have to pay the victim the tourney's prize value in gold as recompense, and if you are a knight who fails to do this, you will likely be stripped of land and title. You can also get up into some cheating or uncouth behavior. In times of desperation, some unscrupulous knights will resort to cheating. So dishonorable is this act that the punishment is always quite severe. Cheating confers the equivalent of a +5 bonus to a check of yours or a -5 penalty for a check of your opponent. These cheating rules are very broad and ambiguous because there's so much you could conceivably do that would be considered cheating in a joust. This may reflect the use of a hollow lance, a lance swipe, sabotaging an opponent's steed, taunting or deliberately embarrassing a knight in front of his maiden. You must declare you are engaging in uncouth behavior before making a roll, and you may not re-roll, so you can't use one of those token re-rolls that you got from your lady on a cheated check. On a roll of a natural 1 on a cheated check, you are suspected of cheating. Your opponent will likely challenge you to an honor duel, depending on the circumstance, possibly even to the death. And usually this is sort of like a divine right trial by, judicial combat, trial by combat. So if you lose, you are considered guilty, and or possibly if the king or the duke is in attendance himself and he witnesses this, he might even catch you and then just automatically punish you for cheating. Otherwise, if you're found guilty of cheating, you will be stripped of land and title and likely possibly punished even further. So that concludes day the 2nd. Then this is the day the 3rd. This is the final event for the joust. A joust could be, a week. It could be 100 days. Really depends on the circumstance. You could really stretch this out however much you want. It's just 3 days for, convenient, practical, mechanical, playing this in a session sake. So the third day, the winner of the previous day's joust. So first of all, you have to win all of day 2. This means you need to win 3 jousts in a row without losing. So you can't get knocked off your horse or anything, which means this is quite difficult to do. You got to win 3 50-50s in a row, and then you're put up against another 50-50. So you are the winner. You challenge the champion of the lord, the duke, the king, whoever it is, to a contest of swords. In some lords' courts, the champion's identity is kept secret behind a suit of imposing black armor, i.e. the Black Knight, and all that can be sure about him is that he is a knight of great renown and of martial prowess. Because, sometimes knights want to keep their identity secret, even though, they like getting the honor and reputation and whatever from winning jousts and courtships. They even want to prove that that's not even what matters to them. It's the true, proving themselves is what matters to them. Okay. The most common hastelude against a court champion is that of a contest of swords. This duel is fought until a participant lands 5 blows on their opponent, or until a knight should yield, or a knight goes unconscious. So it's just very, very straightforward. You're just hitting your opponent back and forth. But at least if you want to try to do weird, fun combat shenanigans, all of those options are potentially available to you against the Black Knight. And this is just a general table for what I think the prizes should roughly look like. So if you're fighting in a counts joust, the champion will likely be around level 4, and you'll make around 2,000 gold. For Duke, level 8, 10,000 gold, and for the King, champion may be up to level 12. Could even be higher, and prize is 50k, could even be higher. 50k should be enough to 50k should be enough to start like a small village or buy a small fiefdom and begin a tiny little settlement. So that's quite an amount, very substantial, I would say. That having been said, I probably should have prefaced this all by saying this is completely untested. I have not tried running a single joust, and I've not tried running through these rules at all. So I do suspect that the fact that it's 3 50-50s plus another 50-50 on top of that means it's probably extremely, extremely unlikely that if everything is being played fairly, that a player will actually make it all the way to the end and beat the Black Knight. Maybe that should be the way it is, but I suppose that's possibly more realistic than giving the players an unfair advantage. But it does seem not very fun to just like get knocked out in like the first round and then just like, why did I bother with all these jousting rules? So, I will give these a try at some point, and I will let you guys know how they go. Hopefully when I get an update on this, then I will inform you guys and let you know what I have changed. All right, but that is it for this one, guys. So I will see you later.